She was asleep when it happened. The light from her phone lit up the dark bedroom like a silent confession, cutting across her face in soft blue. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't even awake on purpose. I just happened to roll over at the exact moment the screen lit up. And there it was. Sweet face speech balloon. You wore me out, face blowing a kiss. That was the message. 5 words and a kiss emoji. That's all it took to kill 6 years of marriage in my chest. I didn't touch the phone. I didn't need to. The preview said it all. She stirred and rolled toward me in her sleep. Her arm draped across my chest like nothing had happened. Like there wasn't another man out there calling her sweet face. Like she hadn't been worn out by someone else while I was at home reheating soup and wondering why she didn't answer my calls the night before. I stared at the ceiling for what felt like an hour, heart pounding like a drum in a coffin. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just lay there, frozen, listening to her breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. The rhythm of someone completely at peace, right beside the man she had just betrayed. The next morning, I acted like I hadn't seen it. She kissed me on the cheek, told me she was going to yoga, slipped on those new leggings I didn't buy her, and spritzed perfume on her neck. Yoga. At 6:30 a.m. on a Saturday. And I just smiled. Have a good session. She thought I was clueless. She thought I was the kind of man who wouldn't want to know. She was wrong. After she left, I picked up her phone from the nightstand. It was still unlocked from earlier. The message was gone, deleted, but the name was still in her contacts. No last name, just sweet face and a little heart next to it. I didn't open the thread. I didn't want to see the pictures, or the dates, or the voice notes. Not yet. I wasn't ready to bleed that fast. Instead, I put the phone down, walked into the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and stared at my reflection in the microwave door. And then I whispered it out loud for the first time. She's cheating on me. No dramatic music. No thunderstorm. No collapsing to the floor. Just the sentence. Just the truth. I sat at the kitchen table for hours after that, not moving. I didn't even check the time. I just watched the shadows shift across the floor. When she came back, her hair was damp, her skin glowing, her voice light. I think I'm going to take a nap, she said, yawning. I nodded. You must be worn out. She froze. Her eyes flicked toward me, just for a split second. That was when she knew. That was when I knew. But neither of us said anything. Yet, the lie grew legs fast. The next day, she started humming again in the kitchen like she hadn't just collapsed our marriage in 5 words and a heart emoji. I watched her stir her coffee like nothing was wrong, like we were still 2 people on the same team. But I was watching now, really watching, and I noticed everything. The slight panic when her phone buzzed, the new lock screen setting that blurred notifications, the nervous way she double-checked the window blinds before answering a call. And then I saw it. 1 gold hoop earring sitting alone on the bathroom sink. She only wore those for special events. Not errands. Not yoga. Not even dinner with friends. They were her I want attention earrings. And this one had lipstick smudged along the inside curve. I stared at it longer than I meant to. It was almost symbolic. Something shiny she used to wear for me, now left behind like I was too dumb to notice. That night, after she went to bed early, I quietly checked the laundry basket. Her leggings were there. Her shirt too. But no bra. And no underwear. Not even buried under the other clothes. Just missing. The rage didn't hit me like a train. It seeped into my veins like ice water. Slow. Numbing. I went back to the kitchen, sat in the dark, and stared out the window. I didn't want to scream. I didn't even want revenge. What I wanted, what I needed, was silence. Clean, clear silence. A silence so sharp it would make her ears ring. She didn't notice the next morning when I stopped asking about her day. She didn't notice when I skipped saying, I love you before she left for her Sunday walk. She didn't notice when I deleted the Spotify playlists we shared, or when I started backing up my files onto a hard drive I hadn't touched in years. But I noticed everything. Especially when she came home wearing new perfume and claimed she just felt like switching things up. I asked her, casually, while unloading the dishwasher, Hey, did you lose one of your gold earrings? She blinked. Too long. Oh, yeah, I think so. Must have fallen off in the car or something. I nodded. Weird. I saw one on the bathroom counter. Her body tensed, just a bit. Oh, maybe it was there. I didn't see it. Then she smiled. That hollow, performative smile that didn't reach her eyes anymore. And something inside me quietly packed a suitcase I hadn't even touched yet. Because now I knew. This wasn't just a mistake. This wasn't a fling or a one-off betrayal. This was a person who thought I was so spineless, so pathetically unaware, that she didn't even need to hide it properly anymore. And I realized I wasn't living with a wife. I was living with a stranger who had already left me emotionally and just hadn't bothered to tell me yet. But I was going to beat her to it. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to confront. I was going to disappear without a sound. And that would hurt her more than any words ever could. The next piece didn't come from her. It came from someone she never imagined would give it away. I wasn't hunting. I wasn't fishing for clues or snooping in drawers. Honestly, I was just trying to keep myself from exploding. I needed somewhere to be that wasn't the same kitchen I'd sat in while silently planning to vanish. So I went out for coffee. I never liked her friend Kenzie. Too loud, too dramatic, always had opinions about everything, even my socks, once. But that morning, by pure accident, I saw her sitting alone at the coffee shop by the window, texting furiously, nursing a giant drink she probably didn't even like. I should have walked away. I should have pretended I didn't see her. But my heart had other plans. She looked up, surprised. "Oh, Darwin." The way she said my name. It wasn't rude, it was hesitant. Like she didn't know how I'd react. Like she already knew something I hadn't admitted out loud. I sat. I didn't ask. I didn't order coffee. I just looked at her. And I think she saw something in my face that gave her pause, because her smile faltered, and she put her phone down slowly. "How's Melinda?" I asked, voice calm, too calm. Kenzie's eyes darted. "Busy. You know how she is." I nodded. "Still going to yoga with you in the mornings?" That was the first crack. She hesitated. "Sometimes. Not this week. Or last week. She's been slammed." "Right," I said slowly. "She told me she went with you yesterday." And that was it. Kenzie's expression shifted, not dramatically, not with gasps or dropped drinks, but with the quiet panic of someone realizing they've just walked into a trap. "Oh, maybe she meant the week before." I didn't say a word. I just kept staring. And eventually, Kenzie broke. "She's not a bad person, Darwin," she said suddenly, looking down at her cup. "She's just confused. People make mistakes. You two have been together a long time. That's hard." And there it was. Confirmation, without the actual confession. The words no one had said yet, but now lived in the space between us like smoke in a closed room. I wanted to ask a million questions. Who is he? How long? Did you cover for her? Does he know about me? But instead, I stood up. Calmly, quietly. I thanked her for the honesty she didn't mean to give me, and I walked out. By the time I got home, I had already disconnected the cloud backups on our shared accounts. I started removing myself from every digital space we shared, streaming platforms, shared calendars, joint grocery apps. Not because I was running, but because I was preparing for something she would never see coming. The moment I became invisible. That night, when she came home smelling like mint gum and guilt, I asked her how yoga was. She smiled, rehearsed, tired, fake, and said, "Kenzie pushed me hard today." She had no idea what I knew. She had no clue the countdown had started. She thought she still held all the cards. But I was already learning how to disappear. I don't believe in signs, but sometimes the universe drops one so loud, so perfectly timed, you can't pretend it's just coincidence. It was a Wednesday afternoon. I was still pretending to work, pretending to smile, pretending my life wasn't peeling apart like cheap wallpaper. The only thing keeping me steady was the plan. The silence. The slow unraveling of my presence in her world. And then the message came. Not to me, not directly. It was one of those group texts. A notification on her old tablet we both forgot was synced to her phone. I hadn't touched it in months. It was buried under a pile of receipts and unopened mail on the bookshelf. But that day, while looking for a charger, I hit the power button. The screen blinked to life. No password, just the soft chime of a new message. It read, "He's getting suspicious. Don't text tonight. We'll talk tomorrow." Red heart. No name. Just a number. I stared at it so long the screen went dark again. My hands didn't shake. My heart didn't race. I just stopped. I read it again. And again. And then I did something I never thought I would. I forwarded the message to myself. I don't know why. Maybe I needed to see it outside of her world. Maybe I needed it to become mine, too. Proof. Evidence. A receipt for all the love I'd invested and never withdrawn. When she came home that night, I watched her. Really watched her. She was light on her feet. Relaxed. Humming again, always humming now. Like she was in love. Like her world was soft and sweet and new again. Like someone else had made her feel the way I used to. I almost asked her who he was. I almost broke the silence. But instead, I sat on the couch and handed her the tablet. I said, "This lit up earlier. Thought it might be important." She took it without a glance. "Thanks," she said, and tossed it into her bag like it was nothing. I stared at her face. She didn't know what had just happened. That I knew. That the entire illusion had finally cracked wide open. That now it wasn't just suspicion or intuition or mismatched earrings. Now it was text. Language. Cold, digital truth. But I said nothing. Because silence was no longer just revenge. It was protection. She walked into the kitchen, poured herself a glass of wine, and turned on a playlist that used to be ours. She didn't even realize the lyrics cut differently now. She didn't notice when I walked out of the room and closed the door behind me. I sat on the floor of our bedroom, phone in hand, staring at the message again. He's getting suspicious. He. Me. I was just he now. Not Darwin. Not her husband. Just some obstacle in a story I wasn't even a character in anymore. That was the night I made the final decision. I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to demand apologies or scream or beg or cry. I wasn't even going to confront her. I was going to leave so silently. She wouldn't know I was gone until she heard the silence echo back. It's terrifying how easy it is to disappear when no one's really watching you. You'd think it would take effort, planning, secrecy, courage. But when someone no longer sees you, when they've trained themselves to look right through you, it becomes effortless. You start fading like a stain in the carpet no one bothers to clean. That Friday, I started with the keys. Not hers, mine. I took the spare set of apartment keys from the hook by the door. The ones we never used. Then I removed my name from the dry cleaning account we shared. After that, I canceled the monthly tea subscription I used to love, but she always made fun of. A tiny thing, but it felt like peeling off a layer of dead skin. She didn't notice. She was too busy texting someone she called Kayla, but never mentioned out loud. Too busy leaving the room every time her phone rang. Too busy making dinner for one, even when I was sitting in the same house. I started packing things, quietly, slowly. Not suitcases. That would be too obvious. I used grocery bags. One drawer at a time. T-shirts she never noticed, old notebooks from college, my grandfather's watch she once called too clunky. I'd take a few things every time I left for work and drop them off at a storage locker I paid for in cash. It was 15 minutes out of the way, in a part of town she never visited. It smelled like damp cement and old furniture, but it felt like freedom. I even took down my favorite photo of us from the hallway wall. The one where she's looking at me, laughing, not posing. I replaced it with a generic print of flowers I bought from a thrift store for $3. She didn't react. Not a word. I don't think she even looked. The silence between us wasn't heavy anymore. It was hollow, like an empty theater after a bad play. She had stopped pretending, and now so had I. One night, while she was showering, I found a receipt in her jacket pocket. A dinner for two at a restaurant that was reservation only and hours away from where she claimed she was. I didn't confront her. I didn't cry. I didn't text screenshots to her friends. I just added it to the file. Yes, I started a file. Printed messages. Dates. Times. Screenshots. Photos. Her schedule changes. Lies layered on top of lies. I didn't know what I'd do with it yet. But something inside me needed to see the truth, not just feel it. Maybe I wanted proof for the day she tried to spin the story in her favor. Maybe I wanted something to remind myself I wasn't crazy. Or maybe I just wanted to hold it like a mirror, so that when I finally walked away, I could look back and not doubt myself. She still called me babe, once or twice a week. Like muscle memory. Like tossing a dog a bone. But there was no affection in it. Just empty habit. And when she fell asleep next to me on Sunday night, sighing contentedly after texting someone under the covers, I stared at the ceiling again. Same spot, same angle, and realized I was closer than ever. Closer to being gone. Closer to watching her realize I had vanished before she could explain away her choices. Closer to finally being silent enough for her to hear her own guilt. It happened at 2:41 a.m. I was already awake. Not because of nightmares or guilt or insomnia. Those stopped a while ago. I just didn't sleep much anymore. My body had adjusted to the quiet. My mind had stopped expecting comfort. She stirred first, rolled over, reached across the bed. Her hand hit the empty sheet where I used to lie. I watched from the armchair across the room. I'd been sitting there since midnight, phone off, lights out, just watching her. I don't know why I did it. Maybe I needed to see her dream. Maybe I wanted to catch her murmuring his name in her sleep. Maybe I wanted to see if there was any part of her still trying to find me in the dark. But she didn't murmur. She didn't even twitch. Until that hand hit empty fabric. Her eyes opened slowly, confused. She reached again. Sat up. Looked around. The glow from the hallway cast just enough light for me to see her face shift. From sleep to concern to something closer to panic. "Darwin?" she whispered. I said nothing. She stood up, padded to the bathroom, checked the hallway. I heard her open the front door, peek outside. When she came back, she looked disoriented. Like someone waking up in a world slightly off from the one they remembered. I was still in the chair. I don't think she even saw me. She crawled back into bed, pulled the blanket up to her chin, and stared at the ceiling, my spot. That was the first time she sensed it, that I wasn't really there anymore. The next morning, she made coffee for two. She hadn't done that in weeks. She placed the mug in front of me with a nervous smile. I didn't thank her. I didn't touch it. I just looked at it, like it was a trap. "Rough night?" she asked casually. I shrugged. "You weren't in bed," she added, softer now. "Neither were you." "For months," I replied. Her face froze, like I'd slapped her without raising my hand. She looked away, lips parting slightly, like she wanted to say something, anything, but couldn't find the script. Her phone buzzed on the counter. She didn't check it right away. That was new. I stood, grabbed my bag, and headed for the door. "Hey," she called out. I turned just enough to let her see the side of my face, but not my eyes. "I was thinking maybe we could do dinner tonight. Just us. I'll cook." I gave the softest nod. Not yes, not no, just enough to let the silence linger. And then I walked out. The truth was, I already had dinner plans, with a locksmith. I was changing the locks on the apartment I'd signed for last week. She didn't know about it. She didn't even know the bank account I'd opened in another name. Or the boxes I'd been moving into the new place, one by one. Or the lawyer who now had a copy of everything in the file I'd built. She'd just started looking for me, but I was almost gone. I knew the moment she started to spiral, not because she cried, not because she screamed, but because she tried to be kind. Too kind. Like someone who suddenly remembers they left the stove on weeks ago and hopes the house hasn't burned down. She came home with a bag of my favorite snacks. Stuff she used to tease me for. She cleaned the bathroom without asking. Folded my laundry for the first time in months, even though I'd already packed half of it into storage boxes she hadn't noticed missing. I let her do it all, quietly, from a distance, like a man watching someone repaint the Titanic moments before it sinks. That night, she cooked dinner. Real dinner. Candles. Music. A bottle of wine we'd been saving for some occasion that never came. She set the table like she was trying to summon a version of us she hadn't spoken to in months. "I feel like we've been a little off," she said lightly, her voice balancing between guilt and hope. "You okay?" I looked at her for a long time. Not at the meal. Not at her dress. At her. She looked beautiful in the way a stranger sometimes does, familiar, but no longer yours. "I'm fine," I said. It was the first real lie I'd told her, and it landed like a glass shattering on tile. She chewed her lip, picked up her fork, then put it down. "I miss us," she whispered. "I know I've been distracted. Work has been insane, and I haven't handled things the best." Distracted. That was the word she chose. As if what she'd done was get lost on a walk, not lost in another man's arms. Still, I didn't speak. She reached across the table, tried to take my hand. I let her. It was cold. Her grip was softer than I remembered, almost like she wasn't sure I'd still let her touch me. "I don't want to lose you," she said. "I really don't." And that's when I knew. She felt it. The shift. The gap. The void she hadn't noticed until it was already wide enough for me to step through. But I was still there. Physically. That made it worse. The more I stayed, the more she unraveled. She tried harder the next day. Left sticky notes on the bathroom mirror. Made coffee. Texted me midday just to say she was thinking about me. But the messages didn't match the timestamps of her past ones. I already had the receipts. The gaps. The silence she gave me when someone else had her full attention. Now she wanted to rewind. But I didn't. And when I stood in the bedroom packing the last small bag she hadn't noticed going missing, she walked in and froze. Her smile was forced. Her voice cracked. "Are you going somewhere?" I zipped the bag slowly. Turned to her. held her gaze just long enough to let her panic. Just putting a few things in the car. It's getting cluttered in here. Oh, she said, laughing nervously. For a second I thought she cut herself off. Never mind. But I saw it. I felt it. That flicker of dread in her chest. Like a heartbeat skipping. Like a shadow stepping too close. She wasn't sure where I went yesterday. Or where I'd be tomorrow. And for the first time since this all began, she was the one trying to read me. The last morning felt strangely calm. The air was still. The city outside was already stirring, but inside the apartment, time had slowed to a final heartbeat. I sat at the table with 1 cup of coffee. Just one. I hadn't made her a cup in weeks, and today wouldn't be the day I broke that streak. Everything was done. The boxes were gone. The drawers half empty. My name was already off the lease. The silence had stretched far enough that even she had stopped filling it with excuses. In a way, she had become a ghost before I did. I left the keys on the counter. But I didn't leave without saying goodbye. The letter was tucked inside the first place I knew she'd never look, between the pages of the cookbook she always pretended to use. Marked with a sticky note that read, "Recipe for clarity." I didn't make it long. Just 1 page. I didn't accuse. I didn't explain. I didn't mention names or dates or texts. I just told the truth in a way I never had before. Calm, full, and final. I waited for you to see me. I stayed when I should have gone. I gave you space hoping you'd fill it with us again. But I watched you decorate it with someone else. So I gave you what you clearly needed, silence. And now, distance. At the bottom I signed it with my full name, not the nickname she used. And under that, just 2 more words. I'm free. I stepped outside into the early light, bag over my shoulder, breath catching on the edge of something brand new. There was no dramatic music. No twist. Just quiet. The kind of quiet that doesn't ache anymore. I didn't check my phone. I didn't wait for her to find the letter. I knew she would. Probably hours too late, maybe days. She'd look for me. She'd call friends. Maybe Kinsey. Maybe even her sweet face, trying to figure out how I slipped away right under her nose. But it wouldn't matter. Because I wasn't running from her. I was finally running to myself. The new apartment was small. Bare walls. Faint smell of fresh paint and empty space. But I opened the windows wide and let the air in. I didn't cry. I didn't crash. I just breathed. And for the first time in years, the silence felt like mine.